several screenshots on how the data was cut off on my device, and then it disappeared. And then I took screenshots of multiple different sites are saying this site cannot be reached. It happened at my device glitches. It tampers with evidence, and it don't want you to know the times, so it gives the current times on the screenshots on all my devices. So I guess they don't want people to know that my data's being cut off illegally. So now they're altering it, and everything that I search for, it's saying IP address can't be found. Let me show you. Amazon. And I don't know what's going on with this YouTube address, but it's weird. I can't go into my my YouTube, but I can't even get to it. This way, you're not incriminated by cutting the data off. You just manipulate all the sites to where I can't pull them up, even though it's an authentic site. So if you didn't see the descriptions, there are stages to what's happening. The abuse is escalated, like the email said. Then when the abuse is escalated, they have to make sure there's no one that'll hear my screams and cries for help. So they enlist all local organizations, all churches, all my contacts, everybody that surrounded me to ignore me and to leave me in the abuse. And then those parties to help with the smear campaign. And if they do provide me some assistance, is for mental health resources to slander me. And then some of them pathologically lie and cover for it and say that I'm mentally ill or I'm problematic on blatant lies. They enlist local businesses in the schemes to violate my rights and help with setups. Though sometimes they'll have the local businesses blatantly lie on me and have a strategy for the police to come. And then sometimes that is a strategy also to take my freedom. They'll set up cases from nowhere. Just mail them out in the mail, a case. So I believe the police department is actually working against me. The police department is setting up a paper trail that I'm problematic by reporting crimes as a strategy, I believe, to take my freedom. And then the repeated reasoning normally behind my taking my freedom is to interrupt my life and everything that I've built up, even if it's just a massive amount of clothes and makeup, just to interrupt that. So I think that it's deliberate. When I obtain cars, jobs, and stability, it's deliberately interrupted to wipe me out of it. So when I'm in jail, it's prearranged my entrance to jail. They want me to be around. There was a big fiasco in Hill County where Diane Hammer was arrested. So they found that it's better if I'm ostracized and isolated in jail. And to pull this off, they con and say that I'm in a special mentally ill tank. That way I'm around controlled inmates, and the inmates are bizarre. They'll start arguments. Like one lady asked me if I was from Dallas. I said yes, and she cursed me out. One inmate repeatedly every day asked me for stuff that was in my cell, food that she should not have known about, but it's a pattern. They ask me about things that they should know, and then they come by and they monitor what I have, so I have to hide things because they'll try to borrow it and then never give it back. So nonetheless, another inmate kept asking for food. So this one day she said, "I'm so hungry, please." So I gave her some food, and then she cursed me out. Then one lady taunted me with books because we didn't have library. Their scam was there was no library and law library or regular library in Del Valley. So she offered me a book and then wouldn't give it to me. But it was this huge room of women in this whatever tank was happening. And then they said I could only be out with these strange people. And I'm watching all these women that I can't have any conversations with. And then they only let me out an hour a day and whatever was happening. So nonetheless, then they put me in another tank that they said was a mentally ill tank, and they let me out I think it was 2 hours at one time and 2 hours at another time, and that's more freedom than I typically have because they have me on lockdown and then lie about me not being on lockdown. All foster arrests are like that. Frank Crowley did it and Tarrant County. They're putting me on lockdown and trying to manipulate the system and pretend like they're not. And then they have the whatever kind of inmates these are. A lot of times they're threatening me, slandering me, and covering for crimes the police are committing. Some of them lie and say that nobody goes to court. It's a COVID. They shut down court for all parties. And I don't know them and they're lying like this, but I see other parties going to court. They lie and say that they'll get a year for a criminal trespass. They're all in jail for the same thing. Everyone's targeted with me, and I'm not really being violated. Some of them blocked my path, like in Hilldale Valley Jail, and wouldn't let me get by. And then when I reported, each time I tried to get by, the guard let her out early when she wasn't supposed to be out. So she let her out to terrorize me. So each time, like I said, she blocked my path where I couldn't move like they did at the Target store. So nonetheless, the guard came and racked me up, and this lady was cursing me out and threatening me. So they were terrorizing me, and I couldn't get guards to do anything. I did all these grievances that were ignored, and happens in all my environments, and law enforcement and all that is being denied, security and all of that. So I just got on my hands and knees, and I said, "Please stop. What do you want me to do? And then, I said, I don't know how to interrupt this. So the guard came in, demanded that I go back to my cell. I informed them about Diane Hammer. And, I didn't say her name. I said that what happened, that circumstance, then they let me back out. But multiple different other guards put me on in the cell and on lockdown for just simply asking questions on my case or about privileges they were withholding. Really what they were doing is they knew that I was trying to incriminate them, and they were withholding the privileges. So they wanted to set up strategies of punishments for me even asking about things that they knew that it was off limits for me, even though other parties had it. They just couldn't come out and say that you are being excluded from privileges that other inmates have. So they set up punishments that would give me that knowledge. And sometimes, I wrote a letter and they kept giving me a hard time to my abuser for giving it to them. It was a letter to my abuser. So I tore up the letter and flushed it. And then they put me on hot lockdown and gave me a punishment a few minutes, a little bit later that day. So that's evidence that why they, first off, I don't know, they're claiming that they don't read the letters, but because I've wrote to a lot of government agencies, and I've never had a response to these government agencies that I've been writing to. So I just stopped writing them because they're committing crimes with the mail in jail as well. So some kind of way they were mad when I wrote this man a bad letter. And then times that I wrote him a bad letter, or the time that I tore up the letter and flushed it because they gave me a hard time giving them the letters. I watched this was in the descriptions. I watched multiple different other parties using the phone on Mondays, Sundays free, and I could not use the phone, period, whether it was on Sundays or at all. And I wrote multiple different grievances. They never gave me access to the phone. I perceived they didn't want me hiring an attorney because my attorney would not talk to me. She told me I'd be released, and it never happened. And she wouldn't. She wasn't my legal representation, and she covered for the crimes. All my legal representation does that. She also started arguments for psychological abuse the few times I did see her or talk to her. Eve was witness that. I mean, she was horrible when I finally talked to her, and I delivered when they had set up the false charges from nowhere when I moved to Victoria. So this all is to inform you that yes, indeed, the harassment has been escalated, and I believe the intent is to give me something to report and then use that for entrapment as a strategy to take my freedom. And before I got the YouTube channel, they didn't even pursue that. They just mailed me out a case from nowhere, a bogus case. So also, one thing that was happening when they cut off the data, I saw some cyber crimes on Reddit that the police want to investigate. So it had a lot of sensitive information, and it stated on the site. And then when I'm looking at things that my device does not approve, then my data will go off, or they'll do whatever crime that was being committed. You hear that noise? It's weird. I've had experienced this at hotels. And I know that people didn't believe me. I tried to figure out. So at precisely the same time, each night at the multiple different hotels, I'd hear this noise. I'm a light sleeper. And I tried to get down to the bottom of how it was possible at the same time every single night at multiple different hotel stays while I'm hearing this noise. And then I took things apart in the hotel room and uploaded it, and I realized how that made me look. But how is it that I hear these things and things break down when the government's mad at me? How at home do you have a washer that breaks down that's virtually new? How do you have a tablet that you close each time you argue with your abuser and you cut off the conversation and closed it, and then you come home and it won't close again? So I wanted to get down to the bottom of precisely the same time at multiple different hotels where I heard this noise about 2 or 3 a.m. These are things that you can't report, and the crimes with the TV, whatever was happening with the TV. I don't know why the government chooses to terrorize me and play these mind games with whatever's happening. But it's really, as we can see, it's really not a good quality of life. I just want to get up, have a cup of coffee, and do some things on my device, and I can't use it. And then it hid. I'm taking screenshots of where the data was cut off, and it's hidden. I just don't know what to. I didn't mean to have a rant this morning. I just wish that I had rights, and clearly I don't.